E3 2003. The convention halls are bustling with excited gamers chomping at the bit to get their hands on all of the new game demos. You could check out what's up with Half-Life 2 at the Valve booth and see what all the hubbub's about, and while you're there you could catch all of the previews of games that would soon become classics, like Simpsons Hit and Run, Tony Hawk Underground, Counter-Strike Condition Zero, Crash Nitro Kart, and World of Warcraft. Or in the next booth over, you could see what the Big N is up to. The Big N. The Big N. The Big N. What were they up to?
But our characters will remain true. Donkey Kong will remain a lovable ape. Link will never lose hope. And of course Mario will never start shooting hookers.
All jokes aside, Nintendo was stacked that year with Mario Kart Double Dash, WarioWare, and Kirby Air Ride among many great titles. You got so many games in so little time, what do? You can't go to every press conference, but you've heard rumors that Sony has something cooking up hot and spicy just for you. So you decide to go to that Sony press conference, and thank God you do, because you get to witness the best gaming handheld get announced right in front of your very eyes, the PSP.
PlayStation Portable.
It was a hit at the show, winning fans over immediately, giving a small glimpse at what the future of gaming could be like. They wanted it to be an everyday machine, something that could play games as well as music and additionally be a DVD player all in one machine. It was nothing of its kind. That sharp, sleek design just popped out of the background compared to its competitors. Nintendo had nothing on Sony and they had to move fast because the Game Boy Advance wasn't going to cut it anymore, and thus started a long battle between Nintendo's DS family of consoles and Sony's PSP. It would first release exclusively in Japan that following year, becoming a commercial success, selling over 80 million units over its lifetime, and having an amazing game library to boot, with the likes of GTA and my personal favorite, Mod Nation Racers. But in the end, the PSP was a widely different machine compared to its competitor, and was ultimately blown out of the water by the DS in 2004, selling over 154 million units over its lifetime, leaving Sony wanting more. They wanted to crush Nintendo for good in both markets, not just in the home consoles but also in the handheld market as well. And their next handheld would set out to be bigger and better than the PSP and the DS combined, with better graphics and first-party titles in addition to the late inclusion of touch controls. And that little console would be known as the PS Vita. Releasing on February the 22nd, 2012, the PS Vita was nothing short of a failure. Which is kind of puzzling, because when you look back at the 10-year run of the PSP, all you had to do was build upon what made the PSP great. And they did exactly that, with a unique game library, the introduction of the built-in front and back camera, as well as the beautiful OLED screen. But it sadly only took a few drastic changes to the console to really jeopardize its shelf life.
It is PS3, yo fuck the 360. It is PS3, so fuck the 360.
While Sony did build upon the PSP, some of the new additions to the Vita were definitely strange to say the least. The biggest complaint you hear among fans are the proprietary memory cards. These little babies were very expensive and were practically mandatory with every purchase of a console. If you wanted to download or save any of your games, you needed one of these. They came in 4 different sizes: 4, 8, 16, and 32 gigabytes. The starting price for the 4GB card was $30, which was extremely expensive for a card that only worked on the PS Vita. The worst part is, if you wanted the 32GB card, it would have costed you at least half of what the console was at the time, that being $120. Well, the console itself was $250, and the 3G version of the console was $300. The price of the console itself was already a big asking price at the time, and asking for an extra $120 for a handheld console, a lot of people felt like like they were better off getting the PS3 or the rumored PS4. Speaking of the PS4, the PS Vita released at a really bad time. With the PlayStation 3 on its way out and the fast arrival of the PS4, it was like Sony set up the PS Vita for failure. Even though they did see a good uptick in sales for the first couple years of its life, it quickly slowed down very fast. Although it did sell very well in Japan, selling over 300,000 units in its first week. But by the second week, that number suddenly shrunk down by 78%, with only 73,000 units sold, and it would later sell around 12,000 units per week. The next year, the rest of the world would follow, and the system would only sell 200,000 units in America in its first month. Although the Vita's slow sales, it was still able to sell 4 million units in its first 10 months on the market, but this would then leave a lot of high-profile developers unsure if it was even viable to release their next game onto the console or not. Admittedly, the Vita had a pretty low amount of exclusive games, in contrast to the PSP, which had over 200 plus, while the Vita only had around 70 to 100 exclusives. And the one to blame is the slow sales and some developers like Ubisoft and Activision decreasing or eliminating their support for the console. But eventually, the Vita would still be able to get some good quality releases. Like Atlas, they showed up big time on the Vita with the release of Persona 4 Golden, one of the best JRPGs to ever do it. And you can't forget some of the amazing first-party titles like Gravity Rush, Uncharted Golden Abyss, and Killzone Mercenary. Outside of the first-party titles and exclusives, you have some of my personal favorites, like Grim Fandango Remastered. Having a timeless classic on the go is amazing for car rides, and especially a story this good, I definitely recommend getting this one. Or if your style is on more car-focused games, there are plenty good ones out there, like Mod Nation Racer's Road Trip, which is just a better version of the PSP port, and a slightly watered down port of the PS3 version. Jesus. There's also Cell Damage HD, where you play as these cartoony looking characters fighting each other Twisted Metal style. And last but not least, there's Sonic Racing Transformed, which is just your classic Sonic Racing but on the PS Vita. There's also plenty of other miscellaneous games I have on this system. Like I've been really into the Persona dancing games, and rhythm games in general, like the plethora of Hatsune Miku games, as well as the Japanese only Taiko no Tatsujin, where you have to hit this little cute drum dude. I remember seeing this dude one time, and I'm pretty sure he's in the arcade version of Mario Kart.
Furthermore, Don-chan from Taiko no Tatsujin has joined the battle.
Another game that's pretty underrated is PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. Yeah, I know, but I actually really love this game, and I think it gets way too much hate than it should. You got some pretty strong picks for a PlayStation fighting game, even though they are missing some classic characters like Lara Croft, Crash, and Spyro. And I honestly would be up for a sequel to this game, or even a remaster where they fix some of the mechanics. Maybe just make it a plain 2D fighter, and not a Smash ripoff, kind of like Street Fighter or Guilty Gear. Now that might be a good game. I got one question to ask you. Why was the fucking PS Vita so goddamn horny? How many pounds of cocaine was Sony on when they made these ads? These are real official ads, by the way, and they are beautiful. Plus, you can't forget about that frickin' horny doctor talking about how many times you do it in the garden and in your backyard and in your house and in your...
I know you've already done it today, and I bet you really enjoyed yourself. How many times did you do it yesterday? Are you afraid you're doing it too often? In your bedroom under the blankets? Or perhaps you prefer the kitchen or on the toilet? Or do you like it out in the garden? Well, you know what? You no longer have to feel ashamed. Everybody's doing it because it's fantastic. And now you can keep going all day long. Don't you like that? You don't even need to stop. And if you want to, you could even join me.
I just walked out of my nice air-conditioned room, and now I'm in this hot-ass, fuck-ass garage, and I'm gonna fuck this car and play my PS Vita!
Oh yeah! Oh yeah! Yeah! Who's your daddy? Ooh, who's your daddy? Taking you fucking slut! Oh yeah! Who's your fucking daddy now? Oh yeah! Oh yeah!
Along with the amazing advertising, the Vita also was praised for its graphics, really stepping it up a notch compared to the PSP. It aimed to achieve the same visual quality as the PS3, but due to it being a handheld system, it was practically impossible to achieve that look. But going hand in hand with the graphics was the brand new OLED screen that really improved the graphics and helped make the visuals pop. Other features that came to the system was the addition of the second thumbstick, allowing way more control and exploration for players, alongside the aforementioned front and back touchscreen. With the rise of the iPhone, having a touchscreen on your machine was practically a no-brainer, but it's funny when you look back at the Vita library and see that a lot of games didn't bother using this feature. The time I spent testing out games for this video, I only came across one game that actually tried to use this feature, and that was Borderlands 2. Alright, just to interrupt real quick, I did find another game that uses the back touchscreen as well as the camera. This is Hot Shots Golf International, I think, and love this game first of all. And but if you just if you like flick your finger back and forth, you can do like whatever this is and kind of determine how far you're gonna go. I guess maybe I don't actually know. It's kind of useless to me. Anyways, you can do this. See? And then another cool thing is with the camera, you can actually go into like VR mode. It's kind of crazy. As you can see, like you move your camera, move the thing around, it's following the camera. Yeah, this is like them trying to be VR before VR. What does this one do? Oh! Whoa, I didn't even know it did this. Why is that a feature? Okay. So yeah, let's just hit one out of the park. Let's do it. Come on. Where's the ball at? Alright. Oh. How do I get myself back? Help me. There we go. Alright. Let's just hit one out of the park. Home run. Shit. Oh. All right. Let's do this thing. Let's hit it out of the park. Nice shot. Yeah. No. Stop rolling. The fuck? No? Alright, let's do this. What the fuck? What are you curving for? Par! Anyways, that, yeah, I figured out that there's another game that uses the back touchscreen. Anyways, back to the video. We all know Borderlands 2 is a fantastic game, and it's great to have on the go, but man is this port janky with the back touchscreen. With the way your hands are positioned on the machine, it's almost impossible for your fingers not to touch the back screen. Touching the left side causes your character to sprint, and touching the right side causes your character to melee attack, while the front screen is used for abilities and grenades. But it's just a little too finicky for my liking. And speaking of finicky, PlayStation All-Stars also has a little bit of touchscreen support when picking up items, but for some reason, no matter how many times I tap on the screen, my character will not pick up the weapon. I don't know if this is just because my hands are too sweaty, or maybe because I'm using the 2000 model, which doesn't have the OLED screen, but this problem also persists in the main menu of the Vita itself, sometimes going haywire when I pick a game or scroll down, but all it takes to fix is a good old rub down with a cloth. Although the games were lacking, mostly because of PlayStation PlayStation shifting their focus by the end of 2013 to the PS4, indie games flourished on the PS Vita, pretty well being the big majority of games on the console, with sleeper hits like Hotline Miami, Shovel Knight, and Undertale. Also in 2013, Sony released the PS Vita 2000, also known as the Slim model, and the PS Vita TV, which was a micro console that was able to hook up to your TV, acting as a home console for PS Vita games. Both of these failed in the markets, with the Vita TV quickly getting discontinued in 2015, again proving that Sony had really lost touch within the handheld market. The PS Vita 2000 and TV first released in Japan in 2013, and then 1 year later all over the world in 2014. And the 2000 model, in my opinion, is the better one out of the two. It's slimmer just by a little bit though, and doesn't have the heavy-duty feeling that the 1000 model had. The improvements they made to the console was getting rid of the clunky charging cord, instead exchanging it for a USB charger. This change would also add up 2 more hours of battery life to the console, and you can't go wrong with extra game time. Another addition the 2000 had was 1 GB of internal memory. Yeah, that's right, 1 whole gigabyte. Sony didn't budge too much on that because they still wanted you to get their memory cards, as they were still going for insane prices at the time. And coinciding with the release of the 2000, a 64 GB card was released with a cap of 1000 applications. Thankfully, in 2014, a more inexpensive way to upgrade your storage hit the market with the SD to Vita adapter, which allowed you to use any micro SD card on your Vita, upgrading the 64 GB cap to 400 Fuck me, and fuck you! Or even 1 terabyte of storage, can you believe that? 400 to 1 terabyte, bitch! To put into perspective, with 1 terabyte, you could almost have the entirety of the PSP library, if you exclude some of the shovelware, as well as a good chunk of the PS Vita library. Fortunately, the PS Vita has been graced with an amazing modding community that is still actively supporting the console 13 years later, going out of their way to make modding the PS Vita maybe one of the easiest and fastest consoles to mod. Upon modding your Vita, you unlock a whole new freedom that the system never offered before. Like the entire PS1, PSP, and PS Vita library, emulation for the DS and Game Boy, and homebrew with cool games like the Pinkman Files. And Siren Head Dating Sim, and my personal favorite, Nextbots for Vita, which is just an amazing recreation of the Garry's Mod, Nextbot mod. Funnily enough, it doesn't work. It just will not load. So, yeah, that's my favorite. You also get options for brand new custom themes, like this cool Fudiger Arrow theme to match my lime green Vita, cause you gotta keep the aesthetics going, you know? I also have a couple of Life is Strange ones, cause, duh, Life is Strange is the shit. In the end, the PS Vita failed tremendously, with Sony role-playing as a deadbeat dad getting milk from the grocery store, as they jumped ship to the PS4 and never looked back, shifting their focus to other projects by 2013, with the root causes of its failure boiling down to expensive memory cards, expensive console, and lack of unique first-party games. It also didn't help that the rise of smartphones was just around the corner, as well as the huge success of the Nintendo 3DS, selling over 75 million units worldwide, while the PS Vita could barely scratch by 20 million units, only selling 15 million units worldwide. It did see a small success in Japan, selling over 5 million units by the end, hence why a lot of secondhand Vitas that are sold on eBay come from Japan. Although Shuhei Yoshida, the president of Sony Interactive at the time, did state that they were most likely never going to return to the handheld market again, due to the climate not being healthy because of the huge dominance of mobile gaming. And rightfully so, by the time this statement came out in 2015, over 1 billion users were already playing mobile games, and by now, that number has gotten even bigger, jumping all the way up to 3.3 billion users. And I can't help but shake the thought that we really failed the PS Vita. It's a great little machine and boasts a ton of amazing quality of life changes from the PSP, along with some heavy-hitting games and a robust modding community. And I honestly think, if you truly want to experience handheld gaming at its peak, give the PS Vita a second shot. Anyways, I've been your host, and I'll see you in 2 more months. Anyways, I'll see you guys later. Love ya. Bye.
So fresh and so clean, it's all in my dreams. It makes me wanna scream. PSP, 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 PSP. Game so crazy, they totally amaze me. Gotta ask my mom for one. For Shizzy, PSP, PSP.